ahead and get started.
Not that I kept track of it.
I have two proposed changes to the agenda. Pending some discussions with Gwinnett County on their system, I would like to remove A1, discussion of population equipment for the jury rooms. So we can get some further information from those folks on what they're using. And also, I would propose that we delete number 12 because we have been unable to get any kind of a name for somebody that would serve. And we have a request to them asking, I mean, they told us they don't know. So we've got a request to them asking what the requirements are for somebody that they would want on council for behavioral health. Do they need a doctor, do they need a psychiatrist, whatever they need. So I would suggest that we delete
Is that what Melanie, Melanie was?
No, you're talking about Melanie Dallas.
Yeah.
No, that's different from organization. Now, she
You can't have that one.
a candidate for it, but they never told me that.
She had a discussion with me about, she was an armed board member that we
It's a fire drill.
and I didn't know if that was part
Oh,
of it.
no, I know the board member.
I mean, yeah.
Pam, I don't know Pam Rose, she was a member.
And she was the one that's coming off with the behavioral.
And Melanie had a suggestion, she might know somebody.
Yeah.
Kind of in that.
She's losing
Do you want me
vacation.
to reach out to her and ask her?
Do either of y'all have any changes you'd like to submit here?
Charlie, let me ask Jim. Jim, number 8 about the lighting system, if Jim has an update that we may not have to do a formal discussion.
I have an update on that one, and I have an update on Old Bucktown Road Commissioner.
You want to leave it on here? and
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
then?
we can do it, we can do it. I mean, it's,
So I would,
I have nothing new, but you do, so.
I would
Let's leave
make a motion that we approve the agenda with the two changes to that.
it. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Which brings us to the first item, which is an update from the Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning. I've been instructed by multiple people in the room to keep it short, so I'll do it. First, what I'm handing you is, I'll just give you guys everything at once. We've had a very good first quarter. Your report covers actually the first 5 months of the year. I'm getting it. Sticking together. So first thing I'll look at is the report from Laurie Road Communications, which, as you guys know, is our public relations firm that we have now contracted with for a little over 18 months. The report's a little hard to read, I know. I can send it to you electronically so you can expand on it, but I'll just give you the highlights. This report was given to us May 13th, and it represents 27 published articles since January 1st for a little over 18 million total impressions and an estimated total value of a little over $200,000. Some of the highlights, we did have article in Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Georgia Magazine, Curved Atlanta, Vacation Idea, Trips to Discover, and then we hosted a writer out of the Macon area. She came up and did a visit for the weekend and did a great article in Macon Magazine, which was published, I think, in March or late March, early April. You can see the other highlights as well, but that continues to provide great results. I mentioned each time, and I'll do it again, that public relations and having editorial coverage goes a long way. It's a seal of approval of a community, and we are working with Laurie now on our 2019 plans for additional travel visits for the year. We're going to focus on a couple of different things. One of the ideas that we really are working on is the revitalization and renaissance of downtown LA, with all the new businesses and great things that are coming about. So that will be in addition to for this year. And we're still talking about what are some of the other new aspects that we can cover for the year. So the second sheet that I gave you is just a financial update through May. You'll see total revenue collection, and that's what we have received. And then how that money has been spent. So the approved budget is listed on column 1 of the additional, or the items which we will spend the hotel motel tax on. And then you see how some of that has been spent to date. The promotional items and printed materials, a huge part of that is our visitors guides. Those are currently in production, and we do expect those to arrive late June, early July. So that will be a huge part of that, and don't be alarmed that not a lot of that money's been spent there as well. We have increased our digital and television advertising. Part of that was Fishing University, which filmed last year, and is airing throughout 2019. That has done very, very well for us, and I think will continue to. I do have some DVDs of that show. If you were unable to see it, I'll bring some over and give them to you guys, put them in your box so you'll have that. I apologize I didn't bring those today. Our partnership with 365 Atlanta, you'll see in Laurie's report, Leslie Peterson, she is one of the partners with 365 Atlanta. They love our community, and they continue to cover it very well. Mike and I are still looking for the perfect billboards. We really haven't found them yet. We still want to partner to do some advertising for the golf course. It's just a matter of finding good billboards in order to pull people off to the golf course. Other than that, you'll see about $42,000 from the first 5 months that hasn't been spent. Some of that is committed. If you'll notice, the Tourism Product Development Grant Fund. That is part of the additional 30% and that we receive, and we have already signed contract to financially support the Ember Rights Center visit, which happened Memorial Day weekend, the week after Memorial Day. So they have actually been in town. They've completed that visit. So we expect their report hopefully very soon. And then, as was mentioned in my report earlier this year, Dr. Alfie Meeks is working on the economic impact study from Georgia Tech. Well, I've also been in conversation with Carlene about some additional opportunities there. So I certainly think that there will be some opportunities to use some of that additional money. We do keep a very close eye. Obviously, we did a budget of $425,000. We do look like we're going to, hopefully, if things finish out as strong as they did begin, that we'll finish out the year very strongly with additional monies to be able to do some additional things. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And I do want to apologize in advance. We have, I'll mention very briefly, the City of LJ had asked me to lead a team for them with the Georgia Department of Economic Development Tourism Product Development team. They're currently on site. I spent the day yesterday with them. We'll spend the rest of the day today looking at sites within the city. We did visit River Park yesterday. We're going to visit the Tabor House today. Obviously county properties, but they're in the city, so we want them put in that asset list as well. So I will sneak out in just a little bit and spend the rest of the day with them, but happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question for Paige, because we're getting calls asking the question. The ready-to-work signs that have been installed at the county lines, are you familiar with those things?
The Georgia Work Ready signs that were put up about 5 years ago?
Yeah.
No, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
are there additional signs that are available? If one is damaged and to replace it or anything like that?
That was an initiative of Governor Perdue. Yes, Governor Perdue.
Okay,
So, it really is not being pushed as much with the new governor.
okay, so if one is damaged, we just chunk it, right?
I don't think I have the final say, but I would say that would be my recommendation. Yeah.
Well, I don't have the ability to replace it, you know, so
Well, if it's damaged, take it down.
take it down.
I mean, even if we can replace it, we should go ahead and take the damage one down anyway.
I don't have any replacement signs.
But I mean, even if we could, we
Yeah,
still take it
right,
over down.
right, that's right.
By taking it down, we're not saying we can never replace it, although we probably can never replace it.
Right.
I can sell it and get a little money for you, Lynn.
Well, we probably need.
Okay, thanks, Paige.
I had, in my visit with the Georgia Trail Summit, I had found out about the Georgia Rivers Network, and that we used to, as a county, be on that and part of that about 12 years ago. And so that's why I reached out to Paige for possibly some funding there to, there's a person that will come and sort of mentor us to get us back on the program for the state. And I think it's a really good project for us to take on. And I had asked her to wait into 2020 if we needed to, but if it looks like that we have extra funds, that it might be something that would benefit all of us, I mean, for tourism and everything.
Do we have an idea of how much the cost
It's
is?
just $5,000, just $5,000. Numbers are relative, no. But yes. Thanks.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
She set the bar for you, Jim. She set the bar for you. She pushed it.
Hey, this is my first time in 3 months. I had to catch up.
Okay,
You just got back off vacation. You want to.
parks and recreation.
Baseball, softball, winding down. Football registration going on the 21st. Get ready down there for the tennis courts. Coming up. The foot buildings were down there, getting taken care of and hauled off. And just last week, we finished the multi-road project where we installed a full-line trailer and built an enclosure for it to where raptors and stuff can have a place to throw garbage if that necessary. And we had 3 trash cans down there also. So both outfitters have been contacted with the golf cost code, so that it's just a place for them to throw the garbage and everything. Whatever it is.
And that's a great addition to the Georgia Rivers Network. And we want to do as well.
And funding with
To the,
the dollar.
River
Yeah,
dollar.
so that's where the funding comes from, that project.
yeah, thank you.
I have to give you a shout out because I was very proud to walk through that park yesterday. We walked all on the River Park walk and there was no trash anywhere. There were tons of families and people using the park and the walkway. And they just had nothing but compliments on that whole park and the plans that we got for it. And so it was great. Thank you for your hard work.
White Path Golf Course.
May was good, as you can see there. If we had every month like that, I think we would be much, much better off, and unfortunately we can't. One number I do want you to look at there is the green fees. That's the number of rounds that is played. Or the number of people that showed up. And to that, you can add probably, that doesn't include our tournaments. We had the Red Dickey, the Gilmer Touchdown Club, and then the Craddock in 1 month. So in that month, you could probably add another 200 to that, to round play. And with our small tee boxes and small greens, that's a lot of people doing it. But that's what we're there for. So all the tournaments, we had those. They did great. Everything ran smooth. We were supposed to have one this past Saturday. fan Hall of Fame, and they called it off on council. But other than that, the only thing I've got going on, I've got sod on that morning. When I get down here, I'm gonna fill up, we gotta get it ready. And the well, I did want to mention the well, we got the okay to dig the well finally. We had to go a little different route. We had to contact Lady Croston in order to get this done. Lloyd, how many times have you called him? It was
I ran out of fingers, so.
unreal. So we reached out to him, and after 2 days, we got a letter. So I guess sometimes you gotta go to the higher ups to get yours done. But I contacted Eddie, and he said he'd be there in a couple of weeks to get that thing started. We gotta get it documented and all the paperwork done, so we're not in the same boat we were when they did the other one. So, but I've got all that paperwork, and see how long it takes. I gave you all a couple of pictures that one of my members had took early one morning. That's number 18, the first picture. The first picture is the tee box looking back toward the green, and the second one's the green looking back that way. That's a little dark picture. I couldn't get that lightened up, you know. But it's, that's the way the whole course looks right there. It's pretty green. We can get those geese out of there on that first picture, it'll be much better off. I've got about 20 right now.
Very nice.
Other than that, that's all I got. Everything's going smooth.
All right. Thank you, Max. Update on 5-year comprehensive plan from the steering committee. Did I skip you? Well,
the heck out of
hey. Okay, but here's the good news, Jim. I checked it off.
I'm clean.
All right.
I got the check from the
We're
chair.
back up. Well, everybody said Jim got to be quick. Okay, Jim. Update from the airport public works.
All right, I'm gonna try to be quick, but it's my first time in 3 months, so I've got catch up to do.
All right.
Land acquisition for the airport was completed on Monday by the county attorney. Those 3 pieces of property totaling 26.95 acres have now been acquired by the county through a grant with the FAA and Georgia DOT. Along with that, the phase 3 of the runway safety project, we have a pre-construction conference scheduled for Tuesday, June the 18th at 2:30 p.m. This is where we actually sit down with the contractor and all of the ruling parties, DOT, FAA, there'll be a whole slew of people there to actually plan the project out, and this gives the contractor the go-ahead. Shortly after that, they will be given what's called a notice to proceed, and they will start then acquiring their permits and all of that stuff before, which will take a couple of months before they can even put the shovel in the ground. But that is done after lots of work on a lot of people's part. The other thing that Commissioner Miller has, I think, an agenda item that I wanted to discuss with you, and that is the runway lighting. Last week I spoke to Precision Approach, which is the company that originally installed those runway lights 15 years ago. And after 2 or 3 phone calls and him looking at it, he says that he thinks that we can fix, it's either the regulator or the controller that is in the green vault out there. And he said if you get an electrician there with a screwdriver, he thinks he can walk him through correcting it. So hopefully with that, we'll have the runway lights back in operation. We currently have a NOTAM that is in place and is there until the 12th of July. That basically says no nighttime landing or taking off. So that's all I have regarding the airport, unless someone has some questions.
One question.
Yeah.
On the airport defense, do you recall what the new sheriff of Gilmer County is on that after the?
I knew you were gonna ask that, and Sandy's not here.
Well,
I think it's,
I think it's 117.
it's either 117 or 125, something like that.
Yeah.
But we're good right now, Charlie, because we received our first draw we received it the 6th or the 7th of June. David spent most of it Monday. The rest of it is for engineering fees. The total grant is 1.8 million. And I believe our portion is something like that, but I can get that for you all. At some point in time, and Charlie, we've talked about this, at some point in time, the commissioners are gonna have to do a budget amendment. I've already given you the source that the funds can come from, as a capital outlay for the county's matching portion. But we don't have to do that today.
We do have an item on the agenda to discuss that.
Okay.
And we don't, as you say, we don't have to do a budget amendment today, but I do want to discuss
Okay.
the fact that we're going to ultimately have to have one and where I recommend it comes from. And I'm going to have a little different recommendation from what you have, so,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Good for me?
I think you'll like it.
Okay, great. I like those. Any other questions about the airport?
Jim, I've had one conversation relative to some hangar maintenance issues. Evidently, that second hangar has got some roof problems.
Guy sitting behind you is the guy.
This is the first I've heard about it.
Well, no, it's been an ongoing problem. Those hangars are 10 years old.
Right.
And the lower hangar, the upper hangar is a seamless, you know. The lower hangar has got screws in it. And we've been advised that, you know, about 10 years is all you get out of the screws, because they've got a washer, a rubber washer on them. So DJ has it on his list. Now, as I understand it, DJ, and I don't want to speak for you.
No, we're just waiting for the ladder truck to be repaired.
Right, we have to use the ladder truck in order to be able to reach that thing
Safely.
safely. So, he has it on his list to do.
This year.
This year. That's what I was told.
I always want to ask
The
that.
ladder truck would be repaired this year, and I think that's the first thing on their agenda when it's repaired, is to help us get that repaired. So,
He has two things in regard to the airport, Dallas, to do. The roof, of course, is very important, and he's waiting on proper equipment to be able to do it. The other is the back room that was unfinished when we built that hangar, has now been finished out with volunteer labor and materials, with the exception of additional light. And DJ and his folks, we have the lighting fixtures. All we need is the lights installed. And we will have that room completed. And when you were down there, it was just a shell.
which I haven't got work orders on yet, but I'm going to start.
Hey, that order was in before there was work orders, DJ.
That's true.
But, any other questions on the airport? Okay, road department, Ridgeway Church Road. We should finish, weather permitting, folks, we should finish all of the excavation of Ridgeway Church Road by the end of June. We had a delay with Amicalola and EPC to relocate their facilities for 15 poles that had to be removed from the right-of-way. That has now been done, and if you haven't been out there, I encourage you to go out there. That was just on your way, and take a look. Looks like an interstate highway now. But we still have ditching, we still have all of the driveways to reconstruct, all the mailboxes to relocate, all gates, fences, and things like that. But what my plan is Ridgeway Church Road will be the first road that we pave in this year's paving season, and I have instructed the superintendent of roads that I want that done in July. So that's where we are with that. Georgia State Highway 382 extension. I learned yesterday and today that on May the 3rd, a contract was awarded to C.W. Matthews. So we have a contractor now on that project. The notice to proceed has not been issued, pending a pre-construction conference that will be held in Dalton, either the latter part of June or the first week of July. So I will tell you that one of the things that I was advised of is that it seems we have a threatened and endangered species in Georgia called the Indiana bat. No offense to Indiana natives. But they can't cut trees until October because the Indiana bat is a threatened and endangered species. Now, I don't know how much construction work they can do without cutting trees. They can't cut trees until October. So I would not anticipate any work happening until October.
I know that water and sewer people have a project to do.
They've already relocated?
Yeah, that, we do not as a county have any responsibilities, do we? At all, construction-wise?
You've already taken care of your responsibility, and that was the roundabout line.
Yeah, no. But there's no work that we're gonna be involved in that project.
No, sir. The intersection of Sunlight Road will not be affected, and there is no work that I can think of that the county would be responsible for. It's all state now, and all of the right-of-way has been secured, and they've awarded the contracts. I will attend the pre-construction conference, so we know just what to expect out of the project. There's going to be a lot of inconvenience in the project, and that happens anytime that you have progress. The project starts just east of the Dollar General store and proceeds all the way to 515. And there will be a new intersection at 515 and a roundabout at the intersection of 5 and 382, 05 and 382.
Jim, when is the pre-conference, do you know?
Pre-construction conference will be sometime in the latter part of June or the 1st of July. If you need to know, I'll let you know. You want to go?
My office will get a lot of calls on that, I might be able to.
Okay, all right. Now, the next thing that I have is Commissioner Miller also has on unfinished business, and that is to advise you that FEMA has approved the Old Bucktown Road Slide Project worksheet change. And that approval also includes additional money. We didn't ask for any additional money, but they provided it. And I have copies of that, and Charlie, I think you have copies of it as well. And they have approved the change to relocate the road. We have made contact, and fortunately for us, instead of 2 property owners, there is only one. And that is Ms. Earlene McGee. She is an 87-year-old widow. It lives in Marietta, and I've talked to a sweet lady. I've talked to her twice, and she verbally has said that she is willing to dedicate the necessary right-of-way. However, her son that takes care of all of her business lives in Mississippi, and so I'm waiting now for a call from him to when we can meet him up here. But for those of you that are unfamiliar with the project, this is where the slide is, right here. And this is Trout Farm, Trout Haven property here. This is the curve that we would take out and relocate the road over. Ms. McGee owns to here. She also owns, for those of you that are familiar with Old Bucktown Road, there is a beautiful old historic house that sits on the left-hand side of Old Bucktown Road before you get to the intersection of Tickenett. You know where the house is, baby? And she also owns that. And so what I would expect is that by the end of this month, we'll be able to secure the right-of-way. And the approval that we have from FEMA, there is something here that I haven't been able to actually understand completely, but it's not total approval. And I'll let you all, you can read this as well. It has to clear one more bureaucratic section before, but we are going to proceed. And hopefully that will end that long wait for the residents up there and for you all too, and me too.
Can you forward that to me? Is that what you, I'd love to see.
Sure.
We're still assuming we will not have to close that road during construction, is that fair?
We should be able, we've done similar type of construction. We should be able to keep one lane of traffic. What we will do, Dallas, is the work that we start with, we'll work from the top. Okay, keeping one lane of traffic open until we've actually got enough land there to put in a temporary, another traffic lane, and then we'll be able to keep both traffic, one lane of traffic moving. We have to keep one lane of traffic moving. We don't have a choice. That is the only way in and out.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so we don't have a choice in that. But yes, we think we can do that. Okay. Flood control dams. I put that on there for Lowe's benefit, for Charlie's benefit, and for you two commissioners. We have completed the mowing of the flood control dams. Ties up a mowing crew every year. And it took us longer this year than we have in the past because the dams were so wet we couldn't get equipment on them. We still do not have the debris cleaned up in the spillways, and we'll be in the process of doing that to get that out of the way. I am hoping that this will be the last year that Gilmer County will have to bear 100% of the expense for maintaining these dams. And I'm telling you, next year, if the road department has to continue to do this, I'm gonna put a line item in the road department budget that will show you how much money we spend every year maintaining. Just the mowing part is about $20,000. That doesn't include the debris removal and things like that. And the sad thing about it is that it initially started out as that the state or the feds were paying part of the expense for the maintenance of those dams, and it stopped. And I don't know how long ago that was, but since that time, Gilmer County has borne the expense for the flood control dam maintenance. Another project that we'll be doing during the month of July, is the library rear driveway and delivery parking area that we have been asked to do by the library. So we will be doing that project as well. And we will also start paving. We have some 15 miles of roads to pave this year, and we will start that in the month of July. I can't give you an exact date yet. A lot of that is going to be contingent upon Ridgeway Church Road, because that is the first one that will be paved.
You're speaking of 15 miles of repaving.
Yes, repaving, yes, sir. That is correct. The Lower Cartacay Road Bridge, Charlie, I've got folks from the District 6 office and the Dalton office helping me try to secure a status on the funding. Now, you have received word that they're actually acquiring right-of-way up there now, right?
Well, that they sent notice to the folks there that they will be coming onto their land and taking soil samples.
Soil sample surveys and stuff like that, right?
So the
Okay,
process is.
That's usually the precursor to the actual acquisition.
Now, I thought we were required to pay for that right away.
We already have.
Okay.
We're actually required to pay for half of it.
Half of it,
But
right.
if you recall, they sent us an estimate of what they thought it was going to be and an invoice, and we've already,
Gotcha.
we kind of jumped on that real quick.
Okay, any questions about the road department?
Going back to Ridgeway Church, that's camp is going on out there, so I guess y'all know.
Oh,
and are
yeah,
aware of all that.
we deal with that, Carlene, every day, have for a long time. Yeah. And you know, it's unfortunate that your predecessor, they were going to participate financially, which never happened.
Travis or the camp?
Well,
Who are you
Travis
talking
was-
Well,
about?
Travis was the one that was pushing it and trying to lead it. The camp was actually going to be the one that participated financially, but it never happened. So, anyway, that's, okay,
That's
so,
for next year.
Board members next week.
oh, okay. Well, if you can do anything, we'd appreciate it. Solid waste. Let me first start out with the easy stuff and then I get to the tough stuff. The EPD amnesty program, we finished. Well, it was a 2-week program that was in conjunction with Earth Day. We collected 3,616 tires at a cost of $8,800, and we have submitted for that reimbursement. We still have the right-of-way tire program going on, and that will run through the 31st of December. The 2018 Hazardous Waste Trust Fund, the chairman has signed the contract. We will be receiving $18,619 back for expenses that Gilmer County incurred in 2018 for landfill, the closed landfill monitoring and things there. The roadside litter pickup, you have a spreadsheet that I gave you there. And they are doing absolutely marvelous work. During the month of May, they picked up 11 roads, a total of 7,840 pounds, which equates out to about 3.5 tons, and 160 tires off of the roads. To date, they picked up 61,600 pounds, which is about 30 tons, and 820 tires, right-of-way tires. Now, there is a motive to my madness to showing you all this. Now, the other thing that I want to make you aware of is what we call the municipal no-charge trash. And you're seeing that in this spreadsheet that we receive. We give you every month. This is waste, solid waste, that the solid waste department receives from various county entities, city entities, state, at no charge. And to date, we have received 73,000 pounds, which, you know, is about 36, 37 tons. This is waste that the solid waste department is receiving with no revenue. There is no revenue for this. So the solid waste department is bearing the expense for the receipt and the disposal of this waste. Now,
Who's this coming from?
it comes from the facility here. It comes from Parks and Rec.
I understand the county,
Yeah.
but outside
City
the
of
county?
LJ, City of, the Chamber of Commerce, their events, and all of their trash on the streets, every day this is received. Yeah. The reason that I want to point this out to you, and I'm putting it here, is that next year, our vendor contract will be up with advanced disposal and will be eligible to be renewed, or we will be bidding. I fully expect fees to go up. And once you get a clear picture of what is happening in solid waste and the amount of trash that we deal with, where there is no revenue, then you'll understand the plight that we have. Now, it has always been, and Dallas, you pointed it out, and it has always been that the county subsidizes the solid waste department, and it's about 50-50. But if we don't look at fees next year, it's going to be more than that. And I want to say something, and I don't know, Ron's not here. Yeah. Yes, he is. If you analyze the revenue coming in the solid waste department, it is not the dollar per bag waste that is the revenue problem. The revenue problem is the waste that goes across the scales, that goes into what's called construction and demolition. That's where rates or fees they've got to be closely studied. It is not the dollar per bag waste. But I wanted to make that point to you, And if you look at the waste that we are receiving this year compared to 2018, compared to 2017, it continues to grow every month. And
Well, my only problem is I'm not gonna be willing to raise rates on our taxpayers and property owners when we're given
no,
free access
these
to
are,
outsiders.
well, what I would suggest is that you look at the fees that we charge at the scale house.
For the construction and all that.
No, I'm not, I mean, I'm just giving you a preview of what you're gonna hear when we start budget discussions for next year. So, any questions about the waste? Now,
Jim, Stacy,
yes,
Just to recap and reiterate, would you say that roadside pickup by the inmates is good or bad?
it is, were you not here? Next time, I want to see you out there. I give them this every month, and I know you get a report. Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to make you aware of in solid waste is that on the 31st of May, folks, we had a serious emergency at the landfill. And that emergency involved a rupture of the leachate force main. And for those of you that don't understand the terminology of leachate is the water that falls from the sky that percolates down through the garbage and then is collected and in a well that we have at the bottom of the landfill. And then is pumped back up to a 10,000 gallon holding tank that we have right there at the entrance to the landfill, and then goes into the sewer system. The leachate force main, and I provided you with pictures, is a double wall pipe. The outside wall is 10 inches, the inside is 6 inches. And this is high density polyethylene. And that pipe, because it is a force main, it is sealed by welding it together. And you'll see one picture that we have there where you see the electrodes fastened right there, Carlene. What they actually have to do is they have to actually put electricity through that pipe in order to melt it and seal it. Now, we went through 7 days, or about 7.5 days, where we had to deal with the rupture. We had to deal with the leachate at the bottom of the landfill, where we had a pumper truck that pumped that leachate out, hauled it back up, and emptied it into the basin. The alternative to doing that would have been that the well at the bottom would have overflowed and would have emptied into a creek that sits immediately adjacent to the lift station. And that would have resulted in a fine from EPD. I was part of one other fine that EPD imposed on Gilmer County years and years ago for $60,000. And the work that we did there, and it was expensive, was to avoid that fine. And we did that. And I want to say publicly that our solid waste maintenance folks, the LJ Gilmer County Water and Sewer Authority, our environmental engineers, everybody pitched in and did yeoman's work to to avoid what could have been a catastrophic event. Yeah.
We should also mention that we do have in the 2019 budget, funding to replace that lift station.
Dang, you must have been reading my notes, because that's the next item.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were done, and I was.
Does that include the pipes?
No, and that's one thing that I have already met with two engineering groups. One is our environmental engineers, and they don't have the capability to do this kind of work without jobbing it out. The other engineering group that I met with is a company called Carter and Sloop that Gilmer County is very familiar with, that just finished the jail sewer project. They did all of the design, did a lift station there, a marvelous job with that, and I started discussions with them last week. But we have the lift station in the capital budget. We do not have the line in there, and that will be something else that we will probably be talking about, to include that force main in that lift station revamp, because it's 20 years old, it's 15, 20 years old. And the rupture that occurred was actually what you would call a rock rub, a rock that just kept rubbing. You know, every time that pipe is charged, it moves. And a rock rubbed a hole in it. Now, that's what we think of. But anyway, we're back to operating normally right now, and that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Now, update on the 5-year comprehensive plan.
We are chugging right along. We had a great turnout for our survey that went out public. Over 2,000 people filled that out. And I will have a report for you guys next month on that report. But before it was finally finished, some of the numbers were that 71% of those that took the survey realized there was a need for workforce housing. 56% said to improve our trails rather than to build new ones. We just thought it was interesting. 70% said they would like to have the indoor swimming pool and walking facility. So numbers were high there. And 82% wanted to protect our agricultural land and agricultural related tourism. So the numbers were high and pretty consistent, but I'll have a full report for you guys next month on that. But otherwise, we're working along with our land planning map and working well with Water and Sewer Authority and East Delaware and OJ. So there is a stakeholders meeting that is July 18th, and that will be a public meeting for everyone that wants to be involved, and we've listed that's the stakeholders. But that stakeholders meeting that we talked about earlier on will be July 18th at the PVON.
So we're on
Community Center.
track.
We're on track.
Finish this in time.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Lloyd, update on the swimming pool project.
Well, you said be brief, so it's in progress off the progress road. We do have the survey, the county survey is working right now, and I did hear just before the meeting that we may have a floodplain issue, but I think that could be resolved. And then we are checking with the railroad to make sure that we have got a legitimate easement across there right away. And then, of course, you've got the design form for later in the meeting. So. Any questions?
Thank you, Lloyd. Update on closed recreation area at Carter's Lake. John, you able to find anything?
What I did was reach out to Miriam with Carter's Lake, and Oliver is here from Carter's Lake to answer any questions. So I wasn't exactly sure what we wanted to know there, but he has taken the time out of his morning. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, absolutely. As Carly mentioned, my name's Oliver Gray. I'm the resource manager at Carter's Lake. I don't know specifically what information you guys are wanting, but any questions I'm more than happy to answer. As you guys know, during the winter time and then in the spring, we had a lot of rainfall. We had historic flooding on the rivers, the lakes. Not only were we at a historic lake elevation, but we were at a historic lake elevation for a very long period of time. We had a lot of facility damage from that. Fortunately, we have got everything open. At a time, we didn't know if we were going to be able to open all our areas or not. Because we didn't know what the damage was, and once the water came off of it, we were able to mitigate most of it. The only thing that we're doing different this year, it's actually not because of the flooding that we have and the facility damage from that, but at Harris Branch, we've got a beach area that's at Harris, and then we've got a campground area. Probably 98% of our visitation in the campground is only on the weekend. We're actually keeping our campground closed during the week because we're paying to maintain it and we don't have anybody use it. That's more of a management decision than anything that's driven by any type of damage. Everything else is open. We do have one issue on up at Ridgeway on the Tumbling Waters Bridge. During the high water, we were able to have a pretty thorough inspection done on that bridge. That bridge is a footbridge that crosses Tails Creek that's at the end of the trail. It's pretty popular. Quite a few folks access that. And we had never really been able to get up underneath it because it's about 50 foot off the ground and above the trail. But our structural engineers were actually able to get a boat right up to it. We found some structural issues on it. We've got the actual bridge closed. The trail's open right now. We've got plans to repair that. It's probably going to be after July 4th, later in the summertime when we do that, but we're hoping to have that done this year. Other than that, everything is open. We're right in the middle of our recreation season. From past years, I know with feedback from our rangers that we have on staff is that we're a lot busier this year than we have been in the last 5 years. So we're hoping to continue that on through the rest of the summer. I know our beach area has been a lot busier because of the pool issues here in the county. We're a lot busier during the week, and that's great. During the weekend, we're filling up about 10 in the morning. So we're encouraging folks, if they want to come out, leave early. We hate to turn folks away, but we've only got so many parking spaces for them. So if you guys have any questions, I'm
Well, I will ask specifically, the reason that discussion came up was that there used to be on the south side of the river or the lake, a day use area, and I do not remember the name or the term they used for that.
Oak
What was
Hill.
that? Oak Hill.
Oak Hill.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Oak
you.
Hill.
Couldn't remember that. Which I understand has not been in use for a good while. But my question was, and wanted to see if there was any possibility that that area was usable by the county for any kind of trail or day use area, and how that would work, whether it would be released, whether it would be an agreement, whether it would be a gift, whatever, how that would work in your case, what possibilities are there. And I don't know how many acres either.
Yeah, and I can get that information for you. And just a quick history of Oak Hill, that was actually closed, I think it was in the mid-80s when it was closed. And since that time, the primary use is hunting and natural resource management, with managing the forest and timber and stuff there. And I think between the Corps and between Gilmer County, there's been ongoing discussion, probably for the last 20 years, just intermittently on possibilities on what could be done there. From our standpoint, that is something that we would absolutely support. We would consider that like a low intensity type recreation, whether it's trail, whatever that type of use is. For the actual land, that would be a lease. It's fee property that we own.
Yes.
If we would go through with that and you guys would be interested in that, it would be a lease from the Corps of Engineers to Gilmer County to manage, whatever facilities are. What I would recommend on that, if you guys are interested, would be for us to sit down and just have a joint meeting and then kind of talk through what our process is for that. It's kind of a proposal-based process. And the way that I prefer to handle that is for the site office, like for us at Carter's and then for you guys, is to basically be in 100% agreement before anything gets submitted to our district office. The likelihood of approval is a lot better. So, I would recommend that we sit down and just talk about the possibilities and what you guys envision. And I can tell you now that we would 100% support just about anything up there. And like I said, it's something that we've been talking about over the years, and, if you guys are interested, we would definitely support it.
Maybe that's something, Charlie, you could have a
It's coming. Okay.
discussion with in that regard, because I have no clue what use might be feasible or what benefit there might be to the county.
Yeah, and we can.
But I think we ought to investigate it.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can get some data. We can do spatial analysis of the topography so that you guys can see the slope.
Now, I
You
believe,
can get costs from that,
I believe that's also where the transmission line came across, is that correct?
It is. It is. Most of our impacts for the transmission line was north of there, across the river in Ridgeway.
Right.
There were minor impacts in Oak Hill, but it really was close at the time. There's still a large land base up there, so there's a lot of potential and possibility for the area. And the good thing about the Oak Hill area is that a lot of the infrastructure in terms of the road corridor, that's all still in place there. So, granted, you probably have to take the road down to base and, do the work associated with that, but there's not any clearing. There's not much dirt work that's required to put anything in there. But
I think we ought to follow up and investigate it and,
Commissioner, at one time, and I think I mentioned it to you, the county had discussions, I think it was under the Mark Chastain term, of a Boy Scout camp there. So there have been ongoing discussions between the county and the Corps of Engineers as to the use of that. Now, the Boy Scouts backed out, and consequently the county had no interest at that time other than doing it for the Boy Scouts. But yeah, I mean, I've walked the property 2 or 3 times.
yeah.
And it's basically a peninsula, that comes out there.
it's a peninsula, and about all we do there in terms of active management is we've got wildlife food plots
Yeah.
on it. And, that's about it right now.
Paige, you had a question?
I was gonna share what Jim shared. Jim and I worked with Mark on that as well. I may still have some of my files.
There is an
There should
entire
be
file
files.
here in the files of the courthouse, some of them, that this lady sitting by me and I did on that project. So, good luck in finding it, but there's a lot,
We may have better luck finding my file.
the quadrangles, and things like that, there is a lot of engineering that went on with it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if y'all are okay with it, have some conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
See what we can come up.
Absolutely. And, that's a possibility for us that, we're excited about, because it not only brings something additional to the lake, but to the county for reasons.
Right.
We will support it.
Sounds like
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, this brings us to citizens wishing to speak. What I'm going to ask is that we have like a 5-minute break before that, because I have a feeling it may run a little long. If you would take 5 minutes, let's be back about 10 after 10. If y'all are ready, we'll go ahead and get started back. Do we have anybody out there that,
Restart.
okay, we're at citizens wishing to speak. Anybody that would like to speak on any subject? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, my name is George Butler. I'm an attorney from Dahlonega, and as I believe you know, I'm representing Jerry Boback, who owns approximately 100 acres, which is contiguous to a property that is the subject of a CUP application.
We actually do have an agenda item for that.
Oh, okay.
Rather than doing it under citizens wishing to speak.
Can
Could we address that when we get to
that would be great. No, I'll be happy to wait. Thank you.
Hopefully it won't be too long. Okay, anyone else who would like to speak?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is not the actual subject I want to speak on, but I was listening to Jim's report out there at the landfill, and let me just get quick clarification. Jim, I understand that in landfills, EPD, rainwater cannot go into the groundwater. We have to catch that. It can't go into our groundwater. We have to catch that, and then there's the process that you explained.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the pronunciation?
Leachate.
Okay,
Leachate.
Right. So we had a break in that, and it could have been a major EPD fine and all that above. I agree with it. You said you have money in the budget to replace it next year or when?
We have, in this year's budget, Brian, there are two, the plumbing in a landfill is pretty complicated, but we have two facilities that deal with the leachate, and that is a lift station, which is very similar to a sewer lift station that actually pumps water uphill. It's not gravity, it's forced up the hill. And that's the lift station. And then we have the force main, which is a double wall. And can I borrow somebody's photos?
Now, is there a difference in the system and the filtration system? Is that a different company in the filtration system? Because there's a filtration system, is there not? To filter or clean the, I don't know what it's called.
No. What happens is the leachate it percolates down. The rainwater falls and it goes through the garbage that's buried in the ground.
Right.
Okay, and then there is a system that collects that.
Right.
And it goes into a system of wet wells, what we call wet wells, at the bottom, at the very bottom. And then there are pumps that pump it back up the hill to sitting right by the gate to the landfill. There's a 10,000 gallon tank that it's pumped into, and then we have another sewer line coming out of there, going down Tower Road, that empties into a manhole of the sewer system.
Right.
Okay? So it's it's contained. It never gets out of that contained area. Or it's
I'm not going to tell you why, but interestingly enough, I was studying this week. I'm sorry, man. I was studying this whole thing that you're talking about earlier this week. What is in the budget to replace it? That's all. I really.
$240,000.
$240,000. And is that the complete system to take?
No, that is just for the lift station.
Oh,
and
is that what we're
just explaining
only?
to
Okay. That's really all I was just looking for.
The lift station, Brian, is comprised of a wet well, two 30 horsepower electric pumps that pump 100 gallon a minute, and a emergency generator. That's the lift. That's basically the lift station, and that's at the very bottom of the landfill that pumps this leachate, muddy water.
Right.
Looks like this, back up the hill through this pipe.
And through our sewer system, the water and sewer authority, they have the treatment and all that.
Exactly.
Right. They got it.
Exactly. They
That's
treat it.
Right.
They actually like it because it helps them to balance out the chemicals that they are putting into the sewer system. So yeah, and we monitor that monthly. We actually, our environmental engineers take samples every month, and a copy of that monitoring report goes to the Water and Sewer Authority, comes to us, and also goes to EPD.
Got it.
Every month.
I'll switch gears. I just, I want to make this brief statement, and I will, Mr. Chairman, make it as brief as possible. I will not continue monthly to be redundant in saying that I'm not against the county having a pool of some sort, and regardless, I hate to use such a such ugly word, but anybody that goes around and says that I'm against a pool, it's a lie. I'm not. My concern is financial, but we'll leave it at that. The school system put out a survey asking the citizens of Gilmer County what they would like to see. Now, I don't know how creditable, I'll say that, the survey, only 2,000 answered the survey, but they asked 3 questions. They asked, do you want a performing arts center, an athletic training facility, or an aquatic center? Well, aquatic center came in 3rd, and I mean a far 3rd. Logically, I would think the school system would, for swim team and future and those kind of things, that would have been a little higher, but it came in the far 3rd. That being said, it's now, and I hope these are some of the questions, you don't have to answer them right now, these are some of the questions you'll answer in your discussion. Hearing 2 pools, okay? Hearing 1 now, maybe 1 later, no clear answer on 2 pools. I'm just reading that from some reporting. I'm hearing 1.2, 1.5, I've spoken to some people, maybe $3 million. A multi-million-dollar project. This is what I'm hearing, okay? A multi-million-dollar project, okay? Now, for 7 years, and all I'm saying is, for 7 years, we sat in this room right here, the same room, Sunbelt Pools over there, we did a $123,000 repair off the top of my head, and for 7 years, we have known, okay? You guys have done a very good job for several years stabilizing an economic disaster that was nationally, that was in this county. I understand that. You guys did a good job there. But for 7 years, we've known the pool needed replaced. We've known that. I understand you put a plan in place for the $300,000, okay? Now, that being said, you're moving forward at a rapid pace in decisions when the gentleman, which I want to say on record, I think he'll do a great job in any project he does, but the gentleman's report is Progress Road. Where are we building the pool? Where, that's going to change excavation costs. Have you gone into, and I'm, don't want you to take the time and have to answer these, you can do it in discussion or whatever. Have you taken the time to look at, in this room right here, when I think the soccer, whatever athletic association was going to get the field, and they came to the county for help, but it wasn't feasible doing to cross the railroad. That should be in your minutes to go back and review that.
If you recall, Brian, one of the things that in Lloyd's report is that we're working with railroad to address that.
I get it. I get it. I mean, you got this on the wall. You seem to be pretty determined that this is what you're going with. We don't know where it's setting. You've changed the language, no disrespect, from pool to aquatic center. So now we got an aquatic center and covered and 2 pools. This is the discussion that's being reported, so I don't know. All right, maybe some of the reporters in the community, I'm going on their lead. We'll leave it at that. My point is I called 3 constitutional officers, and I just want to say this, I called 3 constitutional officers in this county the other day, and I proposed to them, what if they helped us out building the pool by reducing their budget? Well, obviously that didn't go well. They didn't enjoy it.
And did that surprise you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they didn't enjoy that call. They 2 of them got rather upset with me about it. Why would I even call and ask that? And so I said, all right. So I picked 3, and I made 3 different calls. So you get 3 different views on it. But what I was actually doing is I was looking at, if you take the SPLOST revenue of 2011 in this county, and the SPOS revenue of 2018, there's an enormous difference. If you take the property tax revenue in 2011 and 2018, there's an enormous difference. If you take the fact that all of these constitutional officers, with you and I both in that position and back here, have been to this table with former Chairman Sanford, trying to get their budgets approved and having somebody look at them and say, you're cutting your budget 20%. Those same constitutional officers, if for some reason, I'm not this guy's fault, just fiscal responsibility. If these same constitutional officers that come in here every year and ask for a budget, don't receive the budget they want, and are now back to an area where they think they can operate, the citizens, the citizens sit here and they were, I guess I'm gonna say the tax commissioner, Becky Marshall, I remember her for some reason sitting here and saying, my budget in budget hearings with Chairman Sanford, my budget is so low I can't put anybody at the window. I have citizens upset because we have no service. I can't give service. We heard all of that. What happens on a I'm going to say $3 million project, a multi-million-dollar project that was not put on SPLOS. The last SPLOS language did not have a pool in it. The last SPLOS did not pass by an enormous number. Now I would say the last SPLOS would not have passed if it had said $1.5 to $2 million pool project, but it did. I find it interesting, not implying anything, that we're playing on emotion. That's my opinion. We're playing on emotion, and we made this grand announcement 3 weeks before school's out that we can't open the pool, and everybody's in a frenzy. We got to have a pool. I just hope, I wish that we would do a tax study. Maybe we have, and I don't know about, of what our tax structure may be doing, hurting companies that want to come to our area. We do not have a tax structure that invites companies for economic development, which we don't have that. And you and I both know that companies want to come and grow. And I appreciate the wineries, some people here represented, that has done great. But other companies, the 20, the 30 job companies, they look at our debt, they look at things. I just think a $3 million, and the perception,
Okay.
and I'm going to
First of all,
say this.
make up your mind, is it 1.5, 1.2, or 3?
I've heard all three.
Okay,
So
but
my
it's not
mind
3.
can't be made up because I don't
Okay.
know.
It's not 3, so just,
Okay, okay, if anybody else wants to say 3, that's up to them. I've been told it could be, all right? So that's
it
all I'm
can't
saying.
be, we don't have 3.
Okay, that being said, I hope all of you in the room have never been in the position in your life that you had to disappoint your children. You had to tell your children that they were going to be disappointed because you couldn't do something. I'm glad if you have been in that situation your entire life. I personally have not been. And I'm tired of having the perception that if me, myself, and I sit here all alone and say, you know what? You got some things that you need to do first, is my opinion, that I'm trying to disappoint children. I'm really sorry for any of you who feel that I'm doing that. I'm not, okay? I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that you have to every once in a while set children down and explain to them it's not the time. I'll wrap up with this. If I watched the Clear Creek ball field, and you and I both know it was mud and dirt, and we ran out of money. We flat ran out of money.
Before my time.
I agree with that, sir, but guess what? You hold the chair of chairman. You are not the position, okay? And I say that in all due respect. That was before your time, okay? But we had to go and beg for the money, that's my opinion.
Again, before my time.
Before your time, to get them finished, right?
Yes, and I do hold the chair
We
position,
didn't beg for it.
but since I took the chair position. it
Jim,
has
I
been-
don't, let's not go down that. We went and had to ask for enough money to finish, okay?
Okay, but
But the point,
your point that I hold the chair position is accurate. But since I have held the chair position, that project has been finished.
yes, exactly. I just hope that economically, we don't turn down in a position that it never again is like it was in 2010 in this county. But I hope it doesn't turn down in the next 2 to 3 years, and you're explaining to constitutional officers why they have to take a cut in their budget, and they're sitting out there looking at almost a $2 or $3 million pool and project. So I just hope so. I'm firmly against this project being done at this time. It wouldn't hurt to see if the financial stability of this county sustains to a point that we can afford it in a couple more years. Because right now you have put money back, Mr. Chairman, you have. But you haven't put the total amount back, okay? And things could change in 24 months. And the county could be sitting on a situation where we didn't have $2 million. So just that being said, if the SPLOST revenue goes down, if it goes down, and hotel motel tax goes down, and things of that nature, we could quickly, and another thing is, I don't know this pool company, I don't have to know them, but I hope somebody's gonna start bringing some research of what plan they brought, because I can't find any community pools they've done. Now, I don't know if it's just not on their website, or they don't boast about it, but I can't find any projects of the person that did the presentation. But
That's on the agenda for later.
I just hope the constitutional officers realize that when I asked them if they were willing to give back 5 or 10% to participate in this pool, that they understand they sat here one day and had to pull every dime they could of money we didn't have to operate this county. And what if it goes back to that? I will leave that alone for today.
Okay, there are a few comments that I want to make. First of all, in terms of us losing potential development because of our tax structure. I believe if you go back and look at whatever potential development that we've lost to another county, you'll find it most likely the county that these folks decided on had a higher tax structure than we do. Ours is relatively low statewide. I don't think that there's been a single case of us losing an opportunity for development because of our tax structure, because if you go back and look, all those folks have finally settled on an area where the tax structure is even higher. You mentioned, and one of the things that you seem to be saying is that the closing down of the pool is more about wanting to fast track a new pool perhaps than any concerns about safety of the old pool. I think that's, I don't want to use the word a vicious attack, but
No,
I think
Mr.
you
Chairman,
know
that's not a
the
vicious
case.
attack. You and I have had off-the-record conversations that I will respect off-the-record conversations, which Park and Rec Director, he's had a lot of conversations that weren't off the record. So that's not a vicious attack, okay?
The Parks and Rec Director was not involved in my decision to not open the pool.
Okay, fine, fine.
I, as you mentioned, have set back $300,000 we have
Right.
every year for the last 2 years, with the idea of doing it for 4 years and having our 1.2 million, because we had a plan. That was our plan. Now, when I make a plan, I try to stick to the plan. I have no interest in trying to accelerate that. In my mind, it would be a lot better for me, for the commissioners, for everybody in the county, if that pool had lasted 2 more years and we could have just executed the plan as we had originally determined it to be. It didn't. We didn't close the pool so we could accelerate the new pool. We accelerated the new pool because we had to close the old pool. And that seemed to be the thing to do. Now, one of the things that I think you tend to forget when you talk about that there are things we need to do first is that the business of a county is something that has to be, you have to have a balance. We've got people in the county who think our roads ought to be pristine. They don't care about parks rec, they don't care about pool, they don't care about a golf course. We need to have first-rate roads. We have other people that are concerned with recreation. We've got to have somewhere our kids can play, we've got to have a pool, we've got to have this. And that takes second place to roads. We have the same with the golf course, we have the same with planning and zoning, with law enforcement, you name it. There is a segment of the county who feels that this particular service is more important than anything else. What we have to do as commissioners, because we cannot fund across the board to satisfy everybody in the county, is we have to try to do the best we can with what we have across all segments. And there has to be a balance. We can't just say, okay, we need some parks and rec, and as soon as we get our roads pristine, we'll worry about parks and rec. We have to do what we can with the roads while we're doing what we can with parks and rec. Now, having said that, I wonder if you're aware of the fact that, given what has been done, I know you're in favor, I believe that you're in favor of what's been done with the road department.
Yes.
I know that you're opposed to most everything else.
That may have been a vicious attack also, so touche, right?
No more so than.
Go ahead.
But I wonder if you're.
I only have like 50 and 60 hours at many times with the children of Park and Rec, Mr. Chairman, so I'm not opposed to everything else, so, okay?
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. I wonder though, if you're aware that with, first of all, everything that has been done in the last 4.5 years, and secondly, with everything that has been done in the last 4.5 years, that the county's financial position currently is the best that it has been in decades. I wonder if you're aware that the objective for years and years has been to try to have a contingency sufficient to run 3 months of the county in the event that we need to. We haven't had that. We've slowly been building that up. I believe at this point we are either there or knocking on the door of having that. Now, I don't think personally that that's sufficient. I think we need to have probably 5 or 6 months. I will acknowledge that there is a point at which you have enough cash stuck back that now, rather than putting more back, you need to look at cutting taxes. So I'm not one of these guys that says we need to have a year or 2 years, or we just keep putting cash back. At some point, you have to say, okay, we've got enough to weather emergencies, time to start cutting taxes. We're not there, but we are at the so-called minimum level of the 3 months. We have cash reserves that we're not getting into for any of this, both in capital and in general fund. So I guess the points that I want to make is, first of all, it's a balance. We can't concentrate on one area. We have to deal with all segments. Secondly, we've accomplished quite a lot in all segments. And thirdly, that even having accomplished that, we have put the county's finances in the best position that they've been in decades. So I'm honestly not sure why you're really.
Because, Mr. Chairman, because you said all of that, I hope you'll allow me to respond. Every year you sit down, you have budget meetings with all your constitutional officers and all your departments, and they present what they want, whether it's a truck, cars, or whatever it may be, okay? And then you and the commission figure out, hey, this is what our revenue is, what we can sustain and where we need to be, and put back. I mean, for the most part, everything you said is very accurate. That is one of my concerns, is if we're going to get in a financial position of where we are okay, the level in the long term of the debt that we have and other things that are going on, this county will not end if we take 2 years to sustain that fiscal responsibility to say, okay, we're here. Because although many things that you said are correct, my opinion is we're not here. A couple more years, and I don't think we're really hurting anybody by saying we need to stay the course a couple more years, put 300,000. Now, you said that. My question is, where will, you had a meeting and you moved an ambulance. So somehow last year there was a determination that the county wanted another ambulance, whatever need. Wait, sir, but it was in the budget, all right, because you're trying to do a replacement plan. I understand that. All right, so, but an ambulance was in the budget last year that the citizens were going to pay for. And then 300,000 out of the contingency of the building, the building authority.
120,000.
120, right, you're right, 120. But the point is, you've already had a meeting, because you set aside 300,000. You already had a meeting to find 300 to push forward. Am I wrong?
No.
All right, so you found, you're now pushing 600,000 this year forward.
Right.
Am I correct?
Yes.
If you get to where you need money, or there's any kind of economic downturn, where are you going to go for the money next in there? Are you going to go to these constitutional officers, or are you going to come back to the taxpayers? It could happen. That's what I'm saying. Where will you go next? Because you don't have, in my opinion, you don't even have 50% of the funds set aside. The county's not in financial position to go borrow money at this time. I don't know if we can, but we shouldn't be, right?
We have no intention of borrowing money.
But we're not in position to do that.
I think we could borrow money if we decided to do it.
I don't disagree, but we
that
really
would be a
shouldn't
poor
be borrowing
decision,
money.
You and I agree on that.
So my point is, when you say that, and you say where I'm at, I'm not against the poll, period. But I also know the world will not end in Gilmer County if another 2 years and we push 300 back and 300 back, and then you come to the citizens and say, I have $1 million plus. The county has 6 months in reserve, 5 to 6 months, which I respect that direction of paying its bills if something happens, because we know, and I'm not trying to run fear, but we know we actually were in the month we didn't have any more money, right? And we know how fast that can happen. It can. Okay, it can happen. Okay, we know how we extended our TAN note 9 months into the year and had 3 months we didn't know what to do with, correct? Or somewhere around that. We have done that in the past. Not your administration.
Before my time.
Before your time, clearly, but the county. We have seen those things. All I'm saying is if you're on the right track financially, hey, I think the farm winery industry has been awesome for this county. I think agritourism is awesome for this county. I think we're headed in the right direction in so many different ways. Just don't think pushing a project out that you don't even have 50% of the money, because I feel emotionally people are in arms, or a certain group. I'll leave the group out. I mean, we're going to build a lap pool. Okay? Right?
We hope to, yeah.
Yeah, we hope to. And, you know, great.
But again, we don't have 3 million, so it depends.
All right,
We're not
but
talking 3.
that's really all I'm saying. Is I do respect you're going in the right direction with contingency. I respect you're going in the right direction of what you've done. I think the constitutional officers are probably very happy that appraisals, you know, I sit right here in this room and I heard tax assessors look at you and look at JC and say, we can't find comparables, right? Well, now our property values and we have comparables to work with. Hey, that's great. But I'm just saying where we have been, we have to be cautious of starting a multi-million-dollar project. The county's not done a multi-million-dollar project since you've been, I would say, the sewer. We had to have over $1 million for that sewer out there for the sheriffs.
2.1.
2.1, right?
Right.
We gotta have
And we did.
Huh?
And we did.
Yes, we did. What if we have a 1.5 million? What if we have a 2.5 million? I mean, we just heard 250,000 you got to put. I'm not going to keep on about it. I'm just telling you, fiscally, the county needs a couple more years to start the project. And you're pushing the project timeline. You don't even know where it's going. You can't tell the citizens of this county where the project is going, how much it's gonna cost to run that railroad, go across that railroad, and you're pushing forward.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'm gonna.
There's a lot of things in a, as you say, a multi-million-dollar project that you can't answer on day one. And I don't think that's unusual. The other thing, and then I'm gonna stop, or we're both gonna stop, is I just hope that you're aware that in addition to the several months contingency in our general budget, we also have $500,000 contingency in the capital that is not being touched with any of this. So we're not going down to the last penny. We've got 500,000 that we just tucked away and said, we're not even gonna touch that, that's for emergencies. Just putting it out there, and I think we both said everything we need to say on that now. Appreciate your opinion though. Anybody else that would like to speak on any topic?
Can I raise just one quick thing? I
Yes, sir.
saw this in the news the other day, and I just want to bring it up, Charlie, so that we can think about it. Towns County has recently, or actually been doing this, but they have covered their citizens' need for medical flight service and provided that to their citizens free of charge. We have, to my knowledge, our benefit program for our county employees, actually, we lost one flight. I think we used to have 2 flight service.
Well, that was because they stopped off, I think.
I know why, but we've lost one of them. This, as I read this insurance costs the county itself $14,000 to provide free air emergency flight service for their citizens. If that is true, I think I would like to eventually take a look at that myself from an add-on to our eventual medical services we provide beyond ambulance. So I just want to raise that as something that I saw, and I was intrigued that there was even something available in that sense. I do not know any more details. I just wanted to bring it to our attention.
And if that can be had for that price, I'd like, of course, look into it as well.
Right. I think
Is that monthly or annually?
that's an annual fee, $14,000.
Wow.
I just want to raise that as a possibility of providing a service to our citizens that we can afford. But I don't know anything more.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
I would be perfectly amenable to a discussion
Sure.
about that.
Sure.
Another note on that, the city of Blue Ridge does that. The city of Blue Ridge provides that service for the citizens of Blue Ridge. And last night, I think they renewed that, I think after. But if you want to do
I'm
more
not aware of
research
that.
on it, you could always look to the city of Blue Ridge on that also.
Okay. All right, moving along. The next item is a discussion, possible action of Old County Road. I think we probably covered all
I
our.
have no more to say after that.
Discussion, possible action of the Tabor House. Commissioner.
Yeah, I just brought that up on the agenda because last month at our meeting, we pretty much committed to doing some repairs of the Tabor House and put some money aside to do that. I just wanted an update on the progress because part of that was the roof, part of that was electrical, and the last discussion I had, which was over a week ago.
Okay, so
I think DJ's got that.
we have awarded the roof to roof masters. We have done several roofs in the county. They've already been to look and have got it on their schedule coming up.
Good.
Also, the electrical, the indoor panel that is outdoor, we're gonna replace that and with more breaker slots so that we can actually add the dehumidifiers
Right.
if that is necessary, because now we're doing the portable dehumidifiers, and if that's gonna be sustainable, then we won't have to actually do that. But we are gonna change that panel regardless, because it's an outdoor service, but they have an indoor panel outdoor, so we're gonna change that to an outdoor panel. It's safe and up to code with more space if we need it. And that's on their schedule, the electrician's schedule, upcoming for the end of July, and I'm sorry, the end of June. And that's where we're at with that.
I appreciate the update, that's what I wanted to try.
Okay, anything else on the table? Discussion and possible action on the athletic center. I think we have another item on here. The only thing, the thing I wanted to discuss was to get approval for someone to give us a design for the pool. And that's already on there, is item number 11, so I said let's just skip over this. If that's okay with you.
Well, I think that's as far as I know, any action. Let me ask this question relative to that. Do we still need to take action relative to the acquisition of property?
We will still have to do that.
But not as part of this line item?
Well, it could be, but the thing I'm asking now is can we skip number 4 under unfinished business and hold it till item number 11?
As long as it's related to the design, when I was thinking about the separate item from the land, I guess.
Then what I would say is, can we combine 4 and 11?
Yeah, that would work for me.
Okay, which brings us to appointment of a member to the Department of Family and Children's Services Board. Shane Owen has been recommended and is willing to accept that position. I think Shane would be a fine person for it. Do y'all have any other candidates to put forward?
No, that'd be good.
Okay. Next item is appointment of a member to the LJ Gilmer County Water and Sewer Authority. Tony Whitaker's term is expiring. He is willing to serve another term. And the board chairman there has made the request that we do reappoint him.
I will agree to that and accept that and approve that in my mind. I want as much representation on that board as we can have, and I want to have more unincorporated part of the county considered, and that's just, I want to put the pressure on it.
This would?
This will help.
Yeah, okay. All right, adopting the first reader to amend the chapter title land use ordinance of Gilmer County Code. Probably not a whole lot we can say about that until we have the public input meeting tomorrow and get to it. So unless y'all have some specific work session related item. Okay, which is going to bring us to the first item. Final decision on rezoning for Sherry Brown from A1 agricultural to A1 agricultural with conditional use. And Mr. Butler's sitting here.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, right in front of you.
Yes.
Is this the one you wanted to?
No, it's item 7, so.
7, okay.
Thanks.
Then what I would propose is that to save Mr. Butler's time, we just do item 7 next and then pick up with the rest of them. Okay. All right, so this would be for Linda Kenny from A1 Agriculture to A1 Agricultural with conditional use. Mr. Butler, if you would like to speak now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got, you probably are aware, I had faxed you a letter, but I've got a nice, more readable copy that I would like to present. I've got copies for the commissioners and then an extra maybe for the clerk.
George, can I take 2 minutes before you take?
Yes, certainly, Jerry. Please.
I think. Okay, so in terms of the legal protections, that still could not be done.
Yeah, y'all really need to consider the application, and you feel like it wasn't, that there's too many questions remaining.
Okay.
That's the easiest thing.
Okay. All right, we've had a conversation with our county attorney here. Typically, any discussion of these things has to be done in the planning and zoning session itself. We don't do them here because it hasn't been properly advertised. However, I have read your letter, and it would be my recommendation, given the questions that y'all have, that this be remanded back to planning and zoning, and that we address those questions at the next meeting
With the new hearing.
with a new hearing and with these questions being addressed specifically. So that, and I would make a motion to that effect.
Actually, we'll do that tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. I will make a motion to that effect. So,
That sounds good. I am ready to meet this, that we just got this morning.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so back to item number 4, Sherry Brown. Oh. Okay. Okay.
I'll read that between today and tomorrow.
There, you can have it.
Okay, this is to request conditional use of the property for
Where do we go back?
wedding ordinance number 4, I'm sorry.
Sorry, just to clarify, if we're done with item 7, does that mean, what does that mean? Are we waiting till next month?
It means that there will be no action taken at this meeting by the commissioners. We're sending it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission with instructions that they address the questions that legal counsel has asked, and that there will be another hearing on it from Planning and Zoning next month.
And she would be entitled to a copy of this so that they can prepare
Okay.
themselves. Okay. And Karen can email it to you. Karen.
If you'll give us your email address, we will email you a copy of the what we got from legal counsel and the questions that need to be addressed at the new hearing.
And these are different questions from the ones that were brought up last planning and zoning?
I think the contention for most of it is that the answers to the questions that were brought up were insufficient.
As far as road safety,
I'm sorry.
as far as road safety?
That is part of what they were asking for. And now, let me say this, Jim, and I wanted to ask you about this. No, I don't.
We're the purchasers.
Yeah.
We're trying.
That was one of the questions, one of the issues that they brought up. But we can email you so you can see the entire line of thought that they presented. You may want to have your own attorney look at it. But they did make some good points in terms of, you know, this question specifically asks this, and you got a very generic, non-committal answer on it. And it puts us in an awkward position, I think, that we need to get more definitive answers from some of these questions. What we need when it comes here to the commission for a final decision is that essentially all the questions have been answered, all the requirements have been met at the planning and zoning stage. And that just wasn't the case with this. So they will be getting back to you. Karen will be getting back with you about the changes that you need to make in your request to address some of these.
Just Barry didn't ask us any specific questions at the meeting at all.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this was counsel, legal counsel, so. And it had become a legal issue now.
Mr. Paris, I'm new at this, so does this mean it'll go back to the planning and zoning? They'll hear the questions, then it'll be present it to the board again to pass again?
Correct.
And then from there, it would go to your, okay.
Yeah. What we want to do is clear up the alleged deficiencies in the application.
This is what we received this morning from them.
Okay.
Actually, Charlie, she should have access to one of those copies he handed out in a public meeting. She should have access to one of those that's right there.
Yeah, that's what we were just saying, we would just mail to her, but if she
No, I
wants
meant
one of
the
these,
larger ones.
if she wants one of these, I'm fine with that. Here, I can print myself another one.
Thank you. That's me
That's
prepared.
right. You got it? Okay. Thank you, Andy. Good
Just
point.
like you can do it.
No.
Here.
It's very difficult to read if you make a copy of it, so that was the reason we needed it.
Hey, can I request a copy?
I'll tell you what, the copy we've got in email is pretty bad. Let us scan this. Would you be okay to let us
Sure.
scan this? And
Sure, I'll take a scan down.
send you the email that,
I
We
mean, when
can-
I'm not reading about wastewater, I can always,
Well-
you know, take time on that.
we can scan this in a way that it's legible for you.
Leaching.
Yes. Okay, I'll wait till you have it ready and scanned in. Thank you, sir.
So, and scan me a copy too.
So we need to take official action to remail this back.
It's gonna be removed with specific instructions to re-advertise, because again, it needs to be redone completely, and just treat it as though the application were being submitted, again, newly submitted, okay? All right.
And we'll do that without charging a new application fee. I assume.
Right, no more costs.
And just to be clear, he's alleging that there were numerous things that were not done correctly on the initial.
Not so much that they were incorrect, but that they weren't answered sufficiently at all. He's saying that, and I'd be happy to get you a copy of it too.
Yeah,
He's-
well, I'm gonna.
He's saying that some of the answers were just very generic, that didn't really say anything, that they needed to be more specific. And that's just one of probably a dozen issues raised. Best thing would probably just to let you look through it. Now, when we scan this, are you okay with an email copy or?
I'm fine with me.
Okay.
I'll worry about it.
Okay, good. Okay, anything else on this one? All right. Item 5, for Heward B. and Nancy K. Parker.
I don't think y'all covered number 4, or did you?
That we, we never did cover number 4. I'm sorry, we got interrupted number 4, and I thought it was, I thought we finished. Okay, number 4. Let me get back to number 4 here. Okay. Jim, I have questions for you on this.
On,
On number 4, this is for.
Number 4?
Yeah, this is for Sherry Brown, for conditional use and events. There are notes in here about things that have been done to our county road.
I have been and looked at this property, and I have communicated with the Director of Planning and Zoning. And, sir, I cannot, in good faith, recommend that an outdoor venue or whatever be put in this area. For you to see County Road 158, or this portion on the ground, it is a rural road. The Browns actually do not own all of the property that is on both sides of the road. They've kind of taken some of it themselves, but it would create, at the intersection of 515 and County Road 158, it would create a major traffic problem there, plus the fact that the Browns have actually, and I don't know if the Browns are here or not. They're not. Okay. They have actually sort of encroached with gates and fences and things like that, actually on the county road right away, which happened before my time and before your time. But I can't, in good faith, give a thumbs up or a clear signal on an outdoor venue in this location. It definitely would affect the property owners that are before you get to the Brown property. They would be impacted, and our county maintenance stops just beyond the Brown property, and I'm yet to try to figure out. I was up there with my road superintendent and myself. We've been up there twice. I've yet to figure out where they have enough land to put parking for an outdoor venue. I don't know, man. You know, the director of planning and zoning, she may have a different opinion of it, because I think she's been up there and looked at it on the ground as well. But in all honesty, my responsibility to you, I can't see anything good coming out of the impact to that county road and to the adjoining property owners.
Okay, I personally agree with all that, but what I'm asking now is, for instance, the sign says no outlet, no turnaround beyond this point. Doesn't seem to me like that's accurate if it's an intersection with another road.
No, if you go to the end of that section of County Road 158, Charlie, this section is off of 515. And it goes back, and just beyond the Brown property, there's an end of county maintenance sign right there.
But, okay, should they be allowed to post a sign that says no outlet, no turnaround beyond this point?
Well, there is no outlet. There is no outlet. I mean, they have posted the sign.
They posted it on the county maintained sign.
It's not a county sign.
The county maintained sign is the county. The end of county maintenance sign.
No, but this is a sign, have you seen the picture of it?
I have not, sir.
Very good. This
Oh,
is a sign
okay.
that's been nailed to a tree that says no outlet, no turnaround.
I do not know if they posted that sign or if the county. She did, well,
Is it accurate?
And
it's accurate, the sign is accurate, but we didn't post the sign.
what about the fence?
That's the encroachment on that I'm talking about. What they've done is the fencing and stuff like that, they've encroached into county right of way with fencing.
Looks like it's right up.
And if you look just beyond that, there's also a gate, there's a steel gate, a couple of steel gates that actually swing out into the county road. Instead of swinging the opposite way, they swing out into the road. So it could be a hazardous situation for them.
So before we get to the question of whether or not to have wedding venues, my question is, should we make them correct all this?
I would not be opposed to doing that.
Maybe the grandfather some way?
I have not had any conversation with the Browns or anything like that. I went up there and looked at it at the request of planning and zoning.
You cannot adversely possess property within the road right of way. So even if the fence structure's there and has been there for 15, 20 years, they can't adversely possess it. So if it comes to your attention and you direct that fencing to be removed, they've got to comply with that.
Well, that'll be a separate issue from this, but it was something I wanted to ask you about.
Let me ask you a question, Karen, a question too about this property. They state that that was currently a bed and breakfast facility. Officially, did we ever make that a bed and breakfast?
What we did is we approved a change from R1 to A1, and within an A1, you can have a bed and breakfast home permitted without conditional use.
So it is
So
considered
it
a
is-
bed and breakfast
Yes, the
home?
home, she lives there, and then she has 3 rooms that she can rent out.
And that is not considered a conditional use?
Not when it is in an
Understand,
A,
understand.
an A1.
Right, understand.
Is there a limitation on the number of rooms you can rent
Yes,
out that way?
maximum 4.
After that, it becomes conditional.
Yeah, then it becomes an inn.
Right, it becomes an inn. And how many acres was this?
She's got 3,
3.55.
yeah, a little over 3.
And we actually officially somewhere rezoned it ag.
Last year, or January this year, either last year or January.
Well, personally, I'm opposed to this. I can't see
I don't know that she could really expect to have parking.
Yeah, the board recommended no.
It's on both sides of the road.
The way that it's being changed, is you can park them, you can park them.
Well, the planning and zoning board unanimously voted to deny it. I'm adamantly opposed.
Yeah, there's too many problems there that I'm willing to overlook, so I would agree. It's, in my mind, it's possible that if things were changed by the property owner, that they might be able to make it acceptable, but I don't see it acceptable now. So I don't want to approve it contingent upon a bunch of things
Right.
like that, so I just can't agree.
Okay. Carmen? All right. Now, you would be an K. Parker, R1 residential low density, R2 residential high density.
You want to contribute to our growth.
Increase your tax base.
That's right, that's right.
Maybe that's right.
Shady characters sitting in the corner.
Can I just ask a couple questions? I haven't had time to ask and get these answers. Is this part of what was, this property was part of what was also used for the road improvement for 315?
No, no.
or 3
No.
It's Round Top Road.
It's a separate piece of property.
Correct.
That's why I wanted to
This
make
is
sure
off-
I knew that.
This is off of Round Top Road.
Correct.
You're down farther.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. And simply going to R2 gives you the property size lot that you need and want and all
Right.
that, understand. And is this also, the next question was, is this related or adjacent to where some of the sewer and water, not sewer, but water line and whatever the sewer and water authority are doing?
8-inch water line across the road.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That ties that in then?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe there is water at Old South Farms
And Rolling Meadows.
and Rolling Meadows, which is across the road.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
And currently
this
zoned
part.
R2.
Yes, sir.
I'm okay with it.
I'm good. How many does that create for you?
They're anticipating 82 to 85 lots, I think.
I'm like, you got the space, so I understand you can put quite a bit of it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Letha Merwin, from C1 commercial to R1 residential low density. I believe on this one, she's wanting to build for residents on there,
My understanding too.
with single family dwelling parcel. For myself, I don't see a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it. The fire station out there, that's the one we actually closed, correct? We don't use that. Fire station out there, where's it at? 52 East.
Oh, across from the, Apple.
I don't know. Let me look at the map. And it's not relevant, it just happens to be.
I think you're right, I think that is the one that's right next to the convenience center.
But I have no problem with that. I don't think it's going to change. It's a mix of zones out there anyway, between agriculture, commercial.
Her and her husband actually own the chicken houses right across the road
Yeah,
from this
it's
property.
a mixed area.
Discussion and possible action on airport lighting system.
Let me back up.
Oh, yeah.
The reason I asked and considered that, I believe if it's where I think it is, I'm pretty sure it is.
Dollar General, isn't it, across from Dollar General?
Yeah,
Yeah,
fire,
Dollar
fire,
General.
firehouse,
And
but
that's your new firehouse. This firehouse isn't used.
That's not the one.
That's not
Okay,
the
that's
other
not the
one
one
further out.
exposed.
That's not the
No.
one farther out.
No.
Okay, that clears that out, because the one that is not used and is farther out, and I'm wishing we could find it out there. We had a discussion a year or two ago
That's out,
about the
that's
antenna.
out Yukon,
No, not,
the one that we closed.
no, this is an old one out near the, what used to be the Optimus Club, or may still be.
It is a good long way out.
It's out, it's way
that
out.
But the one I'm thinking of that we closed is next to the.
No, this is not it.
Convenience center. The one I'm thinking of we closed is next to the convenience center, it's out near the kids' cottage.
That's a different one.
Okay.
That is one.
Okay, it's not the one you're thinking of.
No, the reason I'm bringing that up is because there was a serious discussion about the height of the antennas, that they are not allowed to be a height of such that it could land on the adjacent property. And if they put a house on that adjacent property, there could be a conflict there between the amateur radio people use that building for their meetings or work, and I didn't want to have this house become a impediment or a problem with the height of that antenna, but it's totally separate from that location.
Yeah.
It's a different
It's a
location.
different location.
Yeah, it's a different location.
According to my records.
Different fire.
Fox Drive starts at Highway 52 East and ends at the little car ticket.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's
the other,
a
the one I was,
cut-through road.
the one I was originally thinking of was.
Car and Cherry.
I'm good with it.
So, okay, then moving on. Discussion and possible action on airport lighting system. I think we've probably already covered this, unless y'all have something else to add to it.
I don't think there's anything to add. I was seriously, and I appreciate Jim letting us know, it is a serious concern for safety for pilots, because I've been there and I've done that, and I know. But Jim says, one of the things I wanted to be sure of, we have a note down, which is the notice to airmen describing that. If we didn't have that, Charlie, I was really planning. I was really planning to ask that you officially close the airport at night.
That's the first thing that an airport manager does, is file the note.
I know, if it's follows the rules and
Right.
procedures.
Exactly.
Is there a message on the AWAS as well? You could do that too, Jim.
We could.
I know how to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know that.
I don't think most people do.
Right.
Sounds to me
Never,
like
to
you
my
just-
knowledge, we've never done one.
Sounds to me like you just volunteered.
Yeah.
No. But I was concerned about what, to make sure that we've got the paperwork and the proper notices, because I don't think we need somebody running off the side of the road into a ditch and flipping. So you got it covered and I have no problems.
Next item then would be discussion and possible action on cleaning the exterior of the courthouse. Has everybody got a copy of this?
I get one of Dallas.
I have one somewhere, hang on, let me find it.
So this would be,
What number is that? Number 9.
I think she wrote it this morning.
I got it right here.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't know about it.
as I understand it, this is essentially about the only place that responded that they can do this.
I did, I tell you.
Actually, Eugene's new husband, Bradburn, was also contending for the job. So, but no physical estimate has been given. Not to me anyway.
I also reached out to Winter Construction that built the courthouse, and I got a lot of runaround from them of this person's the project manager, and then.
If you don't mind, I can speak on that. What Winter has had a lot of people leave since then, but I have been in contact with Harry, his last name, who was the superintendent in charge at the time, and had been through several types of, he's given me several types of, several companies that were involved in the install. One phase was done on this side, different contractor, and then another contractor did this side. They both had conflicting views of how to clean or take care or care for the cat stone. So what we did is we tried to do all of it at the time when the place was still new and this started happening. So we had been through a couple of companies that came by and gave us this acidic detergent to use on it, which works great on brick, but not really on cast stone. We washed it with several other different detergents recommended by the other company, which seemed like a fly-by-night, really not professional company at all. Still, with the same results, the stuff just wasn't, it's not easy to clean off. And people think that it's mold, but it's not mold, it's a moss. That is, it mainly comes on one side, but it rolls off the roof and down the roof and stains this cast stone because the pores that it's able to get into. Now, we did talk about paint, but the reason we talked about paint was because it's cheaper, because it's not the only solution. We also talked about a mortar paste, which would not be paint, would not peel, but we're not sure what the cost on what something like that might cost. We've done samples around the building with paint and with mortar. And mortar was a closer color to what we currently have, but paint was cheaper and faster to achieve in case we wanted to correct the deficiencies on this side of the contract. This side was poorly done, this side was excellently done. Cleaning, anybody that's been here for any amount of years knows that we, every couple of years, have to pressure wash this black stuff off the cast stone.
And I've also heard that we should never pressure wash. So
Right, because it cuts
there's a
into the
different
stone. You
opinion
gotta,
on that too.
that's right, you gotta know what you're doing when you do it, or else you get too close and you cut into it because it's a soft stone. You're right about that. Anyway, at any rate, we didn't get a chance to do it last year. We were shorthanded, plus the 200 days of rain. It didn't happen. I know that this company seems like it's It's got something that we had used before that works, but takes a really long time. I would support that, but it's only gonna be a temporary fix until 2 more years when it comes back. What is really ugly on this side of the courthouse is where the contractor had messed up the mortar when installing the mortar and got it all over the side of the cast stone. And now you have 2 different types of stone, one that stays white and one that's black on the same piece, which makes it really look bad. And that's really that's the real fix that needs to be done. Because once that's done, if you look on any part of the courthouse that we've done paint or have done the mortar, those are the cleanest spots in the courthouse because it's sealed. It doesn't get back in those pores. So I recommend that I meet with your architect and we walk around this building and I show him what we've done, what has been done, what we've tried, and what his recommendations are before we move forward on anything.
If that's totally fine, I did that with the architect, and he's a historical architect that has property here in Gilmer County, and he said that we would do irreparable damage if we painted it, the sandstone. That there's no going back once we paint it, and we've ruined the quality and said it's an expensive way to build that courthouse, but we know we've done it, and we certainly don't want to hurt it. I have no problem with you doing that. This company really went above. In my opinion, they're willing to do it on the weekends, so they don't interrupt the courthouse. They have the equipment or renting the equipment to lift and do all that. They're going to clean the columns and all.
And they're experienced in this.
And they've done churches that I've seen before of the same. Yeah, so they've done them before. But.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I just want to make a comment. And partly this comes from the building authority side of this issue. Originally, there was probably a bad judgment in what stone was used to build this courthouse. We can't do anything about that because we're not going to afford to tear it off and put new stone on, so that's not an option. The problem we've had for every year since it was built is that we have not found a solution that is acceptable to keep the stone looking good and not destroying it. And it's time we bite the bullet and figure out something that's workable. I do not want to deal with this year after year after year. It's been every year since I've been on the board. We've tried to find a solution and haven't found one, in my opinion. I will support whatever is going to work, but I don't want to revisit this again. And I'm afraid if we don't make sure, take our time and find out what the real answer is, that we'll just be back here next year.
But I think that the cleaning is just a temporary solution. I think that we do need to have some kind of permanent solution.
So,
I don't mind cleaning it every year if it's just cleaning it like anything else, if I have to clean it. Whether it's paint, brick, or
like I said,
wood.
That's
with
what the
the
architect said to me.
pieces
it's
that have
just a
been
matter of-
painted or the pieces that I have tried sampling with the mortar, those are the 2 cleanest parts of the building and have not been cleaned, and they don't need to be cleaned.
Yeah, my objective is not to eliminate the cleaning.
No, I'm saying, but they're sealed, so if they were sealed, if the stone was sealed, it wouldn't take pressure washing to clean it, you could just clean it with a hose. It wouldn't be so extreme to take care of. And that's what we want to
Does
lose.
this also apply to the cap on the walls, like around where the judges park and
Yeah, that's
the same stone, right?
the same stone, that's right.
So it sounds to me though, like, first we have to get it pressure washed and cleaned. And then we need to try to figure out how to seal it short of painting it.
Right. Which I will get with the architect which I would like to get with the architect to discuss. So that, I can have firsthand knowledge of whose information is.
Do you know if the builder sealed or did something after it was built?
Oh, no, I definitely know they have not.
They did not seal it of any kind.
No. Or else we wouldn't have this problem.
Gilmer County does a very good job of building, but we don't think about maintaining the outdoors. And I've seen it thousands and thousands of times. We do it with airports, we do it with roads, we do it with parks and recreation. We don't think about what it takes to maintain after you build it.
Understand. I just wanted to try to solve it.
Right. Well, are you good with DJ meeting with these folks and starting the process or getting it
Just
initially
with the
clean?
cleaning, basically, that's all they're doing, right?
Once it's
Yeah, that's
clean,
gonna
then we
clean.
need to discuss.
Then we need to discuss.
We need to bring on whoever else we need to talk about the city.
Long-term plan.
Yeah, okay.
And in fact, I think the building authority was even willing to hire a consultant to even deal with that, although I don't know how that was budgeted.
Well, I think that's the path we'll have to go down. And of course, we've already decided this would come from the contingency.
Yes.
And if we want to hire a consultant, that would be the same.
I just don't wanna, come back 2 years from now and have to pay that one.
I agree.
No, I understand.
Okay, I think we're all agreed. Discussion and possible action on Family Connection fiscal year 20 contract. This is, there's no changes, as I understand it, from the current contract. This will be a renewal of
Now, those run July through, they start July, don't they?
yeah, there's some urgency on this one, that's why it needed to be in this particular. But Merle, we would be approving the new contract for Merle at Family Connection. I think Merle does a wonderful job.
And Sandy will learn how to do it electronically instead of writing a check, I think, is the only change in the contract that I'm aware of.
Yep, and that won't be a problem for Sandy. Anything else on that one? Discussion and possible action on selecting a design provider for the food and recreation center. Tomorrow night, we should have a representative here to show y'all the design that we looked at. To show everybody the design that we looked at. And we can tweak it or whatever. What we're not doing tomorrow night is we won't be going to accept or reject that particular design. What we will be doing will be authorizing them to come up with a proposal for us with a design that we can then accept or reject. Assuming we accept it, that does not then mean that we're contracting with them to build a pool. We can still take that design and go out to any engineering company, any contract company, any pool builder, to have it, we'll take bids on it, and, we can decide who builds it. But this would be, to give us a concept of what we believe it would look like and what we want to present to the engineers to say, here's what we want you to give us engineering for it.
So let me understand, I'm not sure I understand your answer. So they will basically do a proposal tomorrow night.
A proposal, and they'll show us their
Presentation.
current proposed design, but they'll show us that, and but we won't be voting on that particular design. We'll simply be voting on whether or not to engage them to come up with an official design for us to approve or reject.
Let me just throw my thoughts in on that. I would personally really like to see 2 or 3 design companies, firms, present us with options with, see, here's my problem in that I don't have any knowledge or anything to base choosing an architect or a design firm, whatever we want to call it. I need something that helps me. I need something that says, here's three pools we built in Georgia for different counties. Or here's our credentials, or here is our history, and I need something that gives me confidence that they have done this before. I do not want to have, personally, a pool designed by somebody that's not designed a pool and have a pool built to that design, or not that design, but a design. I'm uncomfortable not knowing
They can, I'm sure you can
The
ask
company.
any questions and they can give you the background. I can tell you this, we're having a great deal of difficulty finding anybody that's willing to come to Gilmer County for that particular project from the Atlanta area. That's not
Design,
good.
the
That's not
design,
good.
not the
No,
engineering,
no.
just for design.
This is just for design, but the people who, well, we're having a problem finding anybody who even wants to come to us for a design. They don't want to come this far. Apparently
I
they've got all the business they
I
can
can't
use.
believe that. Who went to Blairsville? Who
Let's
went
ask-
to
let's ask-
Chan-
well,
who
let's
went-
ask
who
Kevin
went-
about it.
Who went to,
Let's
Shannon
ask Kevin
County?
about it when we're looking at the property today. We can tell you about it.
That's-
But now, keep
If
in mind,
that were true, and I'll accept your statement on that.
I'm just telling you what Kevin
Yeah,
told me.
I'm accepting that. That also tells me that we're gonna have a hard time finding a builder that's willing to build it for the price that we think it ought to be built. That scares me. If we're having trouble bringing contractors here, I don't care if they're in-state or not. I'd like that. I'd like it to be local, but I would certainly like to have someone with proven experience in both design and in construction. We solve that problem by taking bids for construction.
exactly.
We don't do that with the design firms. We can just pick one. But I would rather have a choice before I pick one. That's my feeling.
Well, my feeling on that is, we have these folks that are anxious to give a design. We don't have
Sure.
anybody else that's anxious to. But here's the thing. If we don't like the design that they give us, we're not committed to anything. If they give us a design that we like, what does it matter that it didn't come from 14 different people if we like the design?
You're right in that sense, Charlie, but I remember a designer or an architect that designed a courthouse for us one time. And I would never, obviously, suggest that architect be used for any building in this county.
And I would agree with that.
So there's a risk there. Now, I don't know
But this is not about the
how do
architect.
designers and architects get paid? Do they get paid a flat fee, or do they get paid a percentage of the construction cost?
That's something that we'll have to,
Because I'm not willing,
Hear from them.
as the way this courthouse was built, that the
let me
designer
assure you, I
was
don't,
built with a percentage based.
I don't think
All
there's
that
anybody
cost.
here that wants this pool project to coincide with what was the courthouse project.
I know, but there is history in this county, and I agree with you, Charlie, I'm not trying to do that.
But what I would say is, let's let these folks give us a design, and let's deal with these things as they come up. Let's not just lock ourselves out right up front and say, we don't even want to talk to anybody about a design.
No, I'm
Unless we talk
suggesting
to-
we talk to more than one before we make a decision. That's my only point. That's my point. And if we can't find one, that's a different problem. But I want to talk to more than one.
We only have one lined up for one.
I understand that, and that's okay. I appreciate that, actually. Because I want that, and I need that.
And what we also need to do, and I don't think, this doesn't have to be a special call meeting, it doesn't have to be a meeting at all, really, but I want y'all's input on this. We will be having a town hall type meeting, let's say. Once we have a little more information on what design that we feel like we want, we'll have a meeting so that the citizens can come in and give their input on this. If we just have a town hall meeting, I can just put in the paper, be here on this day tonight. And if we do that, only one of us can be there. We can make it a special call meeting where we can all be there and do it that way. It's strictly y'all's choice, I don't care.
Well, it's good to have a time when citizens have, it's like we did with all, I mean, the state did that, and the transmission folks did a good meeting of a town, I call it a town hall, but it was a good presentation of, here's what we're planning to do, give us your feedback.
Exactly.
And they did that one, happened to be at the Civic Center, I think.
They did 382, and then they, the transmission, Georgia
Right.
transmission.
And that's the kind of thing that is good communication. And I'm not sure it changed anybody's view at the Georgia Department of Transportation, because I wrote some letters to them, but it's a great thing to do, and we should do that.
We should do that,
I
and we'll
agree.
probably get some suggestions,
I
like we
agree.
look at and say, well, I don't think so. But, you know, we might get some suggestions that we look at and say, well, I can think about that, that's a pretty good idea. So, and we owe it to the people.
I agree with you, Charlie, I agree, I support that.
So,
If possible, I would like to be there.
then let's just make it a special call meeting.
Okay.
I just didn't want to automatically go there without checking.
Do we have to do that, or can we just be there and not be formal?
Because you're gonna be creating policy or making suggestions, you don't.
So we have to make it official, that's fine.
It's
Well, that's not a problem.
It's
No.
safer, Dallas.
We just make it
Okay,
official.
okay.
Yeah, that's not a problem, you just advertise. Tell them when to come. Okay.
That's a great idea.
Okay, anything else on that?
Can we just find out who the "they" is that are coming? I don't know if I
Find
missed.
out what, I'm sorry.
Who is there? You said they are
Premier
coming.
Pools.
Who?
Premier Pools,
And where are they located?
next to the gun shop. in
Got it.
Do you know if Kevin's engaged or asked other design firms to do anything?
It is my understanding that he has, and that the pushback he's getting is that they don't want to come this far.
Well, I think of one very specifically that did our heater and came up this far and did all our heaters and stuff for us. I don't think that would be a problem for them,
Well,
knowing they've
then we
had
need-
past work.
Is that
Then we need to check
full
with them as
design?
well.
I would assume Kevin hasn't communicated anything to me about who he's talked to, so I don't know if he's talked to them or not. But,
I thought the project belonged to Lloyd. Why are we looking at Kevin and the pushbacks he's being told? I thought he had the project.
The project is not really off and running yet.
He's doing the construction.
He gave, okay. Well, that's
I mean,
design. I mean, is the man an engineer? Is he not? What is his background?
Lloyd,
Yeah.
he's a civil engineer.
Huh, interesting. I think he can handle getting the design people. I'm not gonna interrupt.
He hasn't.
He gave a report, Chairman, Commissioner
You're
Miller.
right.
You already have him giving a report. You have him surveying property. You have him talking to the railroad. I just wondered why the Park and Rec Director, which we were told by the chairman would not be running the project, design is part, I know design build. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say like, if you have no respect for that, I understand. My actual degree is architectural technologies, okay? It's not journalism by far, you can tell that, okay? But I know design build, I know how design build works, how you pay for it, and the whole of the above. So I'll leave it at that. I just wonder why the pushback that people may not want to come here for a multi-million-dollar pool project, you know, is Kevin telling us this. He knows somebody to make the money, so, sorry, sir.
I just have a feeling we're making a mountain out of a molehill here. All we want to know is what the pool's gonna look like.
I got it. He wants multiple designers. You said the pushback was from our Park and Rec Director of
No.
pool companies that did
No,
not pushback from him, is he said that people don't want to come this far, paraphrasing. And my concern is, you told me, when I asked you, I've asked you point blank in a public room, I would hope the Park and Rec Director is not going to run this multi-million-dollar project. And Lloyd is an engineer and understands design build. That's all I said.
Folks,
Can you get us the
I am-
contact information?
I'm sorry, but,
Sorry. Can you get us the contact information of the design?
sure, I mean, I'll get it to you. It's DC Pools. They're the same people who did our heaters and they did our current filter that we have. Or they cleaned our current filter, I should say.
They design, they're just repaired.
I I'm not positive they design, but I'm fairly certain they do. I'm not gonna swear to it. But it's my understanding, Charlie, that you're gonna have public input from the citizens on designs and those things. I did go meet with Premier Pools and give my input on it, and Kevin and I had a few disagreements about those things, so I think it'd be great to have public input on that for what we need and why we need
We
it.
will have public input, but we still have to stay within the budget. And
Sure, we know what the budget is, but we have zero, we don't know what that budget's gonna build us exactly until we put it out to bid.
Exactly. But we need to know what we want to put out. We need to know what we want it to look like. When I talk about design, I'm not talking about a thing in the world, but here's what we want this building
I
to look
understand.
like. And I gotta tell you, not you specifically, but I feel that there's a lot of pushback from the pool. I'm convinced that the people in this county want it. I think you said 70-some%, and that's a valid vote.
70% of how many people?
Over 2,000, about 2,200.
I think that would be a
They wanted
representative
it in
sample. It's the only thing we got going, but I'm convinced that at least that, if not more, people in the county want food. We're on the path to it. We've got 3/4 of the funding. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to get the other quarter. And it is, I just want to say, it is my absolute intention to build a pool and to have that pool finished by Memorial Day of 2020. And I understand pushback, but I can get this thing done.
We're already 30 days
My point exactly.
behind schedule.
My point exactly. And that's why I'm not enthusiastic
I know.
about, now we're gonna spend another month trying to get people to give us a picture of what we want it to look like. I'm not enthused about that. And honestly, only because we have a time schedule here. And I know it's a time schedule that I created, but it's that schedule for a reason. And we have the capability of doing it. I understand it's difficult. I understand that there are no guarantees. But if we don't make that date, I don't want it to be because we've spent 30 days, 45 days trying to do something that in my mind is not something we need to spend that amount of time on.
Well, I agree that if whoever designs it, I think it's more important that the engineer and the construction company is able to build our design. I'm not for rushing it so that it gets done, although I appreciate the high level goal date. I'm for doing it right and what we really want.
I don't mean to imply what we did
I
right.
didn't think you did at all, but I am all about local. I think this company has reached out and had the desire to help us, and they're local. Their company has done pools of this size across the country, so I think they have some.
I really, and I need that,
That's what they'll be able to help you and tell you.
and I will ask them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can I ask where this pole was? Is this something I can go look at? Where was this pole?
Well, actually, we'll be posting it publicly. It was part of our comprehensive plan that we've been working on. This poll was, it went all around social
Oh,
media.
okay, yeah, I did see, so that's the pole you're pulling out.
That is correct.
What was the question on
The
that?
one
Was
you,
it directly a pole or?
I don't have,
I've got it if you want it.
I can send it to you, that question.
Yeah,
I don't have it right here
send
in my
that to me,
notes.
because I did see that pole, and actually I took that pole.
Okay, well, good.
All right.
And so did over 2,000 people.
Okay.
And the poll that you referred to was the one specifically for the Board of Ed and the education and
Yeah, that's the
families.
one I referred to earlier.
That's right.
The Board
So
of
I
Ed,
think-
what they did with their pole.
And it was that poll before, which I took also, was a this, or this, meaning, do you want the Performing Arts Center, the pool, or the,
Just a quick question on the poll
Other.
you put out, which I do appreciate, and I did like it. But does that poll have an IP address identifier where you can't vote multiple times, or do you know that?
No, it
Because when I
does
do
not,
poll-
you can vote multiple times.
I thought, okay,
Yeah.
just wondering if
Yeah,
you.
but
you
so
could
did
vote.
the school one.
Hey, I'm with you. Thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
up. Exactly. You can vote multiple times.
So-
Because when we put out a poll, we can actually click a button that will not allow the same computer to continue to answer, or just let somebody answer something. Thank you.
Let me say too, in terms of the Board of Education's poll,
Yes, sir.
I believe, and this is just my personal belief now, first of all, I think there are a lot of people in this county that just felt like the pool will last forever. You know, maybe we need to keep filling it every year and do this, and keep repairing it, whatever, but the pool is just something that's just gonna last forever. When that poll came out and says, would you prefer this, or a pool, or an aquatic center? I think people just discounted the aquatic center part because they thought, oh, we already got that, so I want to get one of these. Unfortunately, the pool doesn't last forever, and now we're in a totally different situation than what we were in. If the Board of Education took another poll today, I think it might turn out very differently.
And a lot of my friends that took that thought, well, the county should be responsible for the pool, not the school. So that was,
Because we got all the money.
yeah, it's more the county service than.
But the point being, it's not that people.
I'll trade it.
They're looking for somewhere, somewhere to spend $19 million.
Okay,
Anyway,
We got one more item, don't we?
yeah.
all right. Yeah, discussion of possible action on budget amendment for airport grant project. We don't have to make a budget amendment tomorrow, but I just basically wanted to really reiterate what Jim said earlier, that originally, the first look that we had at the airport grant, let me find it here. We anticipated $38,750 would be our matching portion. And if you recall, the costs were far above what was anticipated in that grant. So we basically went back and said, and asked them, would you give us a larger grant? Well, lo and behold, they did. What that means, though, is that our matching portion goes up accordingly. So we're looking at, as I recall, about $117,000 rather than the $38,750. So we got to come up with that difference. Jim had offered that he could wait one more year on the motor grader, and that would cover the difference in the funding here. I think a better position for us might be to go ahead and let Jim get his motor grader. We have in the budget what's basically a setback for gateway signage of $67,500 that we didn't anticipate spending this year. That was just sitting back for part of the cost. I would propose that that be put towards the difference, and then we can always come back when you revisit the gateway signage. But I would rather do that, money that wasn't anticipated to be spent in 19, than to say we're not going to get the motor grader that Jim needs.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that. Let me just add one thing about the motor grader. The thing that I reported to you today, the force main at the landfill, that's a higher priority than the motor grader. And I don't know what the cost of that double line thing is going to be.
Then let's find that out, and we can talk about swapping the motor grader
Right.
out for that.
Right.
But let's don't swap the motor grader out
Okay.
for this.
Now,
I'm fine.
Jim, my understanding is for this particular phase, we will not have any in-kind work. It has to be
No. This is
cash. This is cash.
right now. So you understand, there is one piece of property that we acquired Monday that we will be responsible for the demolition, the cutting of the trees, and all of that, and I think you know that piece of property.
I do.
But that is not associated with phase 3 of the runway safety. And so everybody understands the way these grants fit. Everybody wants to talk about runway extension. What the FAA has said, and Georgia DOT, is look, you've got safety issues on the existing runway. We're not going to give you a grant to extend the runway 1 foot until you take care of these safety issues. And phase 3 hopefully will put those issues to rest. And then we can apply for runway extension. But in kind, as far as the construction of phase 3 of the runway extension, it is total contract work.
Which I think in all other previous ones, we've pretty much been able to do a lot of in-kind.
Well, the last 2, Dallas, we actually, the road department, which I assumed, and you assumed, the previous, no, you didn't assume, because you was a part of the previous administration. The road department was actually the contractor for that work, and I mean, the road department, we suffered because of it.
It was a lot of man hours, a lot of
A
resources.
lot of man hours. Now, the county's budget flourished because what we were able to do is take that grant money and charge it against the project, and the money stayed here. But that won't happen this time. The contractor that you awarded to is out of Robbinsville, North Carolina, and they have a good track record. We have our engineers, we haven't been able to find anything wrong with it.
Jim, at what point will we be required to pay that money?
We'll string it out as far as you want to string. But we have submitted 1 draw on the grant, and that was the draw that for the land acquisition. So I would say, Charlie, it won't be necessary for us to actually pull money out of the local match until probably September, October, something like
And you said that was 67,000 for that gateway signage? What'd you say?
67.5, yes.
That,
It doesn't quite get us there,
that.
but.
I mean, you can do it any time, but right now,
Well,
we
we
can.
want to do it as late as we need to.
Right.
was that accumulated? Did y'all kind of add to that as you were, that gateway signage? Or was that
No, that
just
was the initial.
No, we don't have to do it, but it was just.
I have been in discussions and working on that as one of my side projects. I totally understand with everything that's going on it's not a priority of this, so I think it's still very important.
On what you're working on though, were you anticipating a 19?
Not necessarily. I just am lining up the land that was talked about before and talking to that landowner and then getting bids of signs. So, not necessarily.
So is the landowner still conducive to donating the land?
Discussing. So, anyway, just wanted you to know that I had been doing some work, but it doesn't mean, given everything, the pool and this.
Well, obviously, we don't have to decide that in June. So we can wait a little closer to decide that. What I was trying to do was figure out how to not make you not look.
And I appreciate that, Charlie, but I think that gateway sign is an important thing too. And the motor grader, if I can, the motor grader, our best motor grader, just went down, sir, 2 weeks ago. You remember signing that $3,000?
I do, and one of the reasons that I was trying so hard to not limit
with
this
the
one was
repairs,
because you assured me that we had to have it.
with the repairs that we make to that, it should last us another year. And what has come up now at the landfill, and the increased match at the airport, I'm perfectly willing to forego the motor grader for 1 more year.
Well, let's get started on the landfill part. Sure. Find out. what it
Landfill part
costs.
is.
Because if we're gonna do this, we need to do it in conjunction with the replacement.
Oh, the lifts, see, the two go together. I mean, you can't do one without the other, you know. So, the two will go together, yeah.
All right, well, let me know.
Okay.
What you think. All right, do we have anything else?
Did you cover 12, Joe?
We deleted that one because we don't have a
Before I
name.
got it, sorry.
Yeah, we don't have a candidate for that.
Oh, well.
Okay, do we have any need for executive session? Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, one is the same.
Okay, ready for this fall?
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to the
Maybe
pool?
1 o'clock?